Welcome to Building the Basics, where we walk new and prospective gun owners through the how, what, why, and where on your gun ownership journey. Today, we've got Andrew Capel, who will be walking us through the ownership and hows of where to start with hunting. And if you're interested in hunting, where do you start? What do you need? What are the things that you need to do to be compliant with state laws and everything in between? So thanks, Andrew, for taking the time to talk to us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. No, first thing, glad to be here. Really appreciate you having me on, being able to talk about this topic, something that is definitely near and dear to my heart, a very big part of my life and has become a big part of my life. Definitely through the being introduced to firearms at a fairly young age, getting into it, making sure that we use this in the right way and the right platform to get more people introduced to it, understand it, and continue to proliferate, right? So a little bit about me, I'm kind of what you would call an average normal guy, right? Who enjoys to go hunt. And there's a funny part about that where a lot of the time I like to go on big hikes in the mountains with either my rifle or my bow sometimes. And we may not get an animal, but it's about the experience and it's about getting out there with your friends, having a good time. Right? I've been hunting for about, I'd say at least 15 years here. Really, once I hit junior college is when we started getting into hunting with a couple good buddies. We would go waterfowl, we would go shoot some prairie dogs. And then as that's evolved, it got a little bit more serious into the waterfowl game. It got a little bit more serious into big game hunting, especially, me being from Colorado and out west, right? The Western style hunting of chasing elk, mule deer, antelope, and understanding what that process took, how I got ready for it. I've also done some hog hunts down in Texas, as well as bear hunt up in Canada, which was really fun.
Very cool.
Very cool experience. But really my passion is, and especially this year, I drew a very nice mule deer tag, which I'm really hoping to fill the freezer with, right?
Nice.
Big part of getting some good wholesome meat on the table for our family. But, elk hunting is absolutely enjoyable. I really enjoy that. It's a very fun experience. It's very special to share with your friends. So that's just a little bit about my background, what I've done. So yeah, looking forward to today's conversation and, see where this takes us.
Yeah. So with that, what are your favorite places to hunt and what is your favorite prey?
Yeah. So obviously I said I've gone from Texas to Canada.
Yeah.
Right. And I will say in the Western states in particular, Colorado has been my favorite, probably because I've gotten to experience so many things that I feel not many other people get to see.
Okay.
Right? So when I go hike 5 miles into the backcountry, so you hit a trailhead and you go, and all of a sudden you're seeing the sunset from 10,000, 11,000 feet of elevation, overseeing a big valley, and you realize this is special.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm in a special place that not many people get to experience.
Yeah.
And that's one of, hands down, the greatest things about getting out there and just getting into the field, going to do cool things, right? But Colorado in particular, because it's also a challenge.
Okay.
Right? So, like I said, I went on Texas hog hunt. When you go to Texas, right, hogs are pretty prolific.
Okay.
Right? So you go out, you can wait for them, like you're going to see them. And for the most part, they're a nuisance, tearing up a lot of crop, interrupting the current biological diversity, coming in as an intrusive species, right? Trying to eradicate that, right? And then also up in Canada, very different style of hunting, right? But they call it the bush.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So we were up in the bush, which it was literally it was so funny. We went fishing one day and we tried to walk down to a river. And we literally had to walk through 200 yards of what felt like a 12-foot tall bush.
Okay.
Like you're thumbing your way through it, trying to get there. And you can't, I guess, see the country as well as you can here. Where I can see, if I'm at a glassing position, I can sit up on top of a mountain and I can see a mile and a half.
So for the novice, right? So these are all new and prospective gun owners. What is a glassing position?
Yeah, so a glassing position is really where you find a vantage point where I say I can hike to the top of that ridge or the top of that mountain and be able to see an area that I believe is going to be very good and may have deer, may have an elk, may have whatever animal I'm chasing. And I can stay there and be able to look through either a spotting scope or my binoculars, be able to see the country and what kind of activities there, right? Is there going to be an animal that comes in? Is there a game trail that goes through it?
Okay.
And is there water nearby? Right?
Okay.
Things to that effect. And also, is there a big group of trees nearby where the animal can go sit in the shade all day, be comfortable, and walk out to the water, later in the evening when the temperature starts to drop and they're feeling more comfortable to come out with less predation. Right?
Okay.
So that's glassing spot.
Okay. All right. And do you usually shoot from the glassing position or you shoot from a different position?
I would say typically no. What you're going to do is whenever you go out in the field and you identify, and there's a couple different ways to do this, right? So I'm kind of speaking to like more big game Western spot and stock.
Okay.
Right? But there's also like we have to talk about waterfowl, right? Where, hey, where do I go pick up a Remington 870 or a Mossberg 500 and be able to go out and do this? Or am I somewhere in the South where there's a likelihood I'm sitting in a tree stand or a blind and my furthest shot's going to be 100 yards and a 270 or a 6.5 Creedmoor is going to be a fantastic choice for me.
Okay, depending on the prey. Yes.
Right, exactly.
So you wouldn't be shooting waterfowl with 6.5 Creedmoor, you would be shooting waterfowl with a shotgun.
Yes, that's my point of saying, okay, once I get down there, but it's also about, getting out and understanding your territory, right? So anyone listening has probably decided that they want to hunt, right? And they're trying to understand how the heck do I do that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, number one if we're going to check the box, we need to go get our hunter safety certification.
Yes.
Right. And that is typically a 1 to 2 day course. It's usually you have somewhere around 8 hours of a classroom.
Yes.
And then the next day is your quote unquote practical, where you'll go to a range, shoot a 22 caliber rifle at a target. And then once you pass those two things, you get your hunter safety certification.
Yes. Yes.
And this is like my big thing. And we'll get into a story later on this, but it's about understanding, hey, how do I be safe while I'm doing this? And how do I make the right choices once I'm in a position of, do I pull the trigger? Do I not pull the trigger? Is it safe for me to do so?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's really what it's about is, hey, let's go have a good time, go experience nature, hopefully get some meat for the table and do it safely.
Okay. And meat isn't the only, so there are a lot of people who are trophy hunters, right? So people who go out and they're looking for like the biggest rack on a deer that they can find. So a deer that has the most points on their antlers. And they just want to take that particular animal. The only difference is that they wouldn't necessarily take the meat back out.
Yeah. And there's definitely people that want that, right?
Yes.
And hey, that's fine. What typically happens though, the animal is not going to go to waste, right? And I want to make sure that point's clear is, yes, there are opportunities to hunt and put a trophy on the wall, but that meat's going to go somewhere. It's going to go to a local family, a local feed bank, or someone's going to use that animal.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And that's where I may differ and just have my approach and perhaps spot in life, but I want to be able to feed my family with wholesome food.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Like I know that food is as original as it gets. I don't really have to worry about what else it's gone through, what else it's done. I know that I made the choice to take that animal's life and I'm going to use that animal to nourish my family.
And you know where the meat's coming from. It's not processed. You know from the point that you've taken that animal and to the point where you've taken it back to your family, you know every single step. Whereas today, we buy it from the grocery store, and you don't necessarily know. You're trusting where it says like no antibiotics or it's there's no hormones and no all these other things, right? I know that this animal is fed by nature, and I'm taking this animal and my family's eating it, and I know exactly that there's no contamination or whatever else.
Yeah, and I think just as a father, there's a lot of pride in that.
Yes.
Right. Like
Absolutely.
just being able to do that. Right.
Yes.
But absolutely right. the wholesomeness of it coming into your family, knowing where it comes from, and especially in today's day and age with all these marketing claims, what does this mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
The packaging says this. Well, you get something, you know, that's a deer, that's an elk, that's a duck. You know exactly what it is and what you're putting on the table, which is really nice to have.
Okay. And so you had already touched on it a bit for the hunter safety course. So at least here in the state of Colorado, you can do all of that online. In a lot of states, I think you can do a lot of the classroom work online at your own pace. Well, ish at your own pace, right? You can't stop and then come back to it necessarily, but you can take as long as you need to take for that hunter safety course, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a plethora of options out there. You can take it at any age too, right? I think the earliest in the state of Colorado, at least, where you can legally hunt is 12 years old, right? And that could vary state to state, depending on what you're doing. And there's also options for youth hunts, right?
Yes.
So if you want to get your kids into it earlier, there's absolutely options to it. And I'll say, you know, reach out to your local departments to make that happen. Your local, like we call it the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, or your Division of Wildlife, whoever it is. And I'm sure they would be more than happy to talk to you about it. But as far as the hunter safety goes, yeah, you can take it at any age. There's online options, there's in-class options. There's many ways to do it and get it done. So you can then take the next step of, okay, I'm ready to go hunt. What do I need for that?
Yeah.
Right.
So Googling like hunter safety or hunters safety course for whatever state. So hunter safety course, Colorado, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, whatever it ends up being, you should be able to get to whatever your state's accreditation process ends up being.
Absolutely. Yeah, it should all be available online. And most states that I've encountered, going all the way from Texas to Canada and everywhere in between, most online platforms are pretty spot on in today's day and age. It's easy to use, easy to follow. And if you can't figure it out, there's a phone number there and you can get someone live.
Okay. And then there is a practical application for most of these accreditation processes, right? So you take the class, then you take that certificate from the class to, hey, take it to whatever your, I guess, authorizing body ends up being, whether it's Parks and Rec or, you know, Rangers or whatever it ends up being. Then they'll say, hey, show me that you can handle a gun safely.
Yeah. And that's part of the accreditation in the state of Colorado, right? Is you pass it all, you know how to handle a firearm safely.
Yes.
Right. And you get your hunter safety card, and then you're able to apply and go hunt.
Okay.
That was, and I can speak to this from when I was 12 years old. Yeah. Right. That's how the process was. And I don't believe it's changed since then. Okay. But feel free to fact check.
I think when I did it for Colorado, it was the online portion, and then you take the certificate, and then you do the practical application. For me, as a veteran, I get to skip that piece of it, and they just give me, as long as I prove, so I have to send them a copy of my veteran's ID, but then they just give me the permit. But for most other folks, it would just be taking that certificate and then getting the practical application. I think you have to schedule a time with is it Parks and Rec?
The Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Parks and Wildlife, yes. So CPW, yes, CPW. So you go and you turn the certificate into CPW, and then you do the prac app piece of it, and then they would give you your full hunter's permit. And is there an annual renewal, or is it like 5 years or?
No, so I can speak to the state of Colorado, and I believe this is the case for most of the country. But if you were born before a certain date, and I think it's somewhere in the 1950s, you don't have to retake your hunter safety. Oh, right. And if you've taken it, you're good. To my knowledge, nothing's changed in that aspect.
Okay.
Right. So if you took your hunter safety in 1980, you're good. Okay. Right. Or if you took it in 2015, you're okay to today.
Okay. All right. And then I guess after I've gotten that part done, what would you say for somebody who's so I don't know, like I've always followed other hunters. I've had friends who are hunters, right? When I lived in Michigan, when I lived in Pennsylvania, I just went with friends who were hunters. Now, if you don't have a friend who is a hunter, but you're wanting to get into it, what would be the best way to kind of learn the ropes to figure out, hey, what do I need to do? How do I attract prey? Like, what do these tracks look like? Right? For me, it was, hey, I didn't know that turkeys made different tracks depending on what they were doing. If they were heading back to their home, or if they were going to go get some food, or if they were going to get some water, or if they were looking for a mate, right? They all make different tracks. They do different things in the dirt. So you kind of need somebody who's a hunter to kind of be able to, at least for that. And then, what do deer tracks look like? What do rabbit tracks look like? Where do ducks like to hang out in the middle of the day? So how, if you didn't necessarily have a friend, how would you go about figuring out, getting the hang of some of those things and getting some of that information?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I remember going back to when I was younger, I really wanted to hunt, but I didn't know a lot of people who hunted.
Yeah.
Right. And trying to get into it was hard. Right. And I was like, well, lucky for me, I had a friend or two who let me tag along.
Yeah.
Right. To your point. Yeah. I got to tag along and learn.
Yeah.
I think in today's day and age, it's a very different story with the internet.
Yes.
Right. We have YouTube. We have groups you can find through different social media platforms.
Yeah.
I think those would be phenomenal resources. Ones that, even though I've hunted quite a bit, I still use today.
Okay.
I'm still trying to learn about, what's happening here? What is someone who's a big influencer on social media? What do they think about this hunting? And they're putting out tips and tricks, right? Absolutely. I'm still following that today because I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. But if I was just starting out, I would 100% use the resources right at my fingers.
Okay.
For the internet.
Okay.
To try and find out, number one, to your point, depending on what species and what hunt I'm going on, start doing research, watch some YouTube videos, find someone on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is, who does that well, and try and understand it.
Okay.
And then number two, which is probably the trickier part of this equation, is finding someone to go with. That is definitely the harder thing to do, because I've gone on hunts where I'm with a group, I'm with a buddy, I'm solo for a week, right? I've done all the in between. And definitely when you're with other people, you learn much faster.
Yes. Yeah.
You're gonna completely accelerate your learning curve there. So if you can find a local hunting group or a local sporting club and just go interact, understand. I'm willing to bet if you ask the question to most people, say, hey, I really want to learn this. Is it okay if I tag along once in a while? The answer is usually going to be yes.
Okay.
Depending on the style of hunt and everything, but there's a good chance you're going to find someone that's going to go, yeah, man, we're heading up in a month or next week.
Yeah.
Come on out with us, right?
Okay.
We'd love to show you the ropes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a way that I would personally go about it would be, there are a lot of ranges around where we're at, and I've been a member at a lot of ranges. I've been a member of a lot of gun clubs. And so join a gun club, make some friends. There are a lot of guys there who are going to be, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. And this is when we're going to do it. Now, all of a sudden you've got some new friends who are seasoned, and you can do it that way. I mean, for me, first time I've ever been dove hunting. I've never been dove hunting before. I had a friend who is a husband of my wife's, college friend. And he said, hey, I'm dove hunter, right? And I said, hey, you mind if I tag along? He said, yeah, sure. We're probably going to go pheasant hunting. I've never been pheasant hunting. I've shot deer. I've shot coyotes, but I've never shot pheasant or dove. That's not something I've ever hunted in terms of prey. And so I think that's absolutely a great way of approaching.
Yeah, and also just your friends. Like if you're in a work setting or if you're out socially and you just bring up, hey, I'm getting my hunter safety, or hey, I'm really interested in this, you'd be surprised at how many people you're going to run into who are going to go, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? I do that all the time. You want to come with me?
Yeah.
Right? Because the one thing I've noticed about the outdoor group is a lot of people are really willing to help, and they like it when they've got people to go with.
Yeah.
Or there's, they have someone to teach. Like a lot of people really appreciate that. Like, I would love to show you, right?
Yeah.
Because then maybe you'll go with me next time.
Yeah.
And I won't have to go by myself.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I know a couple other friends you'd fit right in with.
Yeah.
And you'd have a great time, and we could continue to build our community.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a piece of it is a lot of people don't realize is that the community is super friendly, super open. I've never met anybody who's been like, oh, well, you know what? No, right? We've you and I have been to enough gun ranges where like, hey, what are you shooting?
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, hey, you want to shoot this?
Yeah.
Right? Here's some ammo, right? Take it.
Yeah.
Get out for a spin. So I think that's the other piece that a lot of people don't realize is that just the firearms community in general, not just hunting, but firearms community in general, whatever it is, people are super friendly. People want to, we want to share a hobby. We're passionate about it. We want to share that passion with other people who would be interested. And so, yeah, absolutely. Asking people.
Absolutely. And I'll give you an example of exactly what you just said. I was visiting my buddy in Oklahoma, right? And we went to the range and we were sitting there shooting, you know, it was an indoor range, and we look over and we see a pistol guy shooting and we're like, what is that? You know, we don't know what that is. And so we just said, hey, what are you shooting? And he goes, oh, it's a FN57. Do you want to take a couple shots? And we were like, yeah. And it was awesome. And he was a super nice guy. We sat there and chatted with him for 20, 30 minutes, right? Had never met the guy. I'm not from Oklahoma, but it was, to your point, that community of just like, yeah, check it out. Here you go. Like, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of guys actually, you don't realize how expensive some of those bullets are. 5.7 bullets are not cheap, right? Yes. 5.7 millimeter bullets are very expensive and very hard to find. It's not something you walk into a gun store and like, hey, do you have 5.7? Yeah, we got a whole rack of them. No,
yeah, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And so they're I want to say they're like probably like 50, 60 cents a round. And the fact that he was just like, hey, go ahead, take it for a spin.
Yeah.
You probably shot like $10 worth of his ammo and he was just like, whatever.
Guaranteed.
Right? Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. All right. So let's move on to basic weapon and gear needed, because I think that's probably the more intimidating thing. So we talk a lot on this podcast about picking the right gun and not just spending a bunch of money, because guns are expensive.
Absolutely.
And so if you're going to spend a few $100, close to $1,000 at points on a weapon, you want to make sure it's the right one. But at the same time, you don't want to buy something that you're just like, oh man, this isn't right for me. Now I have to sell this thing for a loss.
Yeah.
And or it's just going to sit in my safe, or it's going to sit in my closet with a gun lock on it and I'm never going to shoot it. So can you walk me through what a good starter rifle would be for somebody who's looking to hunt, say, you know, something for if they're looking to take bigger game. So looking to take down deer or take down, you know, elk is going to be tougher because you're going to get into a lottery and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But let's just talk deer.
Yeah.
If you're going to start with deer, what rifle would you recommend, and what are some of the accessories that a beginner might be able to get their hands on? And then talk about what some of the costs might be, where they might be able to get it for, what price, and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is it's the huge topic when you're getting into it. And when I was getting into it, it was absolutely probably the number one consideration, right? What rifle am I going to get? How much money do I have to spend? Do I have a good scope? Do I need a good scope?
Yeah.
Right? All those things are great questions, right? And I'll say the first true rifle I bought for big game hunting was a Remington 700, and I put a Leupold 3x9 scope on it, which meant it zoomed from 3 times magnification to 9 times magnification on it, right? And and I bought it in 30-06.
Okay.
It was my elk hunting rifle.
Okay.
Right?
Common round.
Yes. I mean, I think you could argue 30-06 or maybe a 270 or 243.
Okay.
Have taken the most animals in North America, right?
Okay.
I think any of those can make the argument depending on the species. Any big game, probably 30-06.
Okay.
Any deer, 2.7, 243.
Okay.
But as you're getting into it, I mean, there's a couple different ways you can go about it. Can you walk into a pawn shop, buy an old Remington 700 that's got a scope on it for $400 and go out and shoot a deer, shoot an elk? You absolutely can do that.
Less than the price of a Glock 19 then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a fantastic deal.
Yes.
Because most people are like, you know, Glock 43, $650, $700 out the door. So, I mean, $400, that is.
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
Find a used one. And the other options, right? So you can go there find the used route. And there's tons of forums, there's tons of information online, right? Going back to, we're in an information age, right? What do we do with the information? How do we guide that? There's a couple new rifles on the market that are very entry level that are phenomenal choices. The first one that comes to mind is the Ruger American. I've heard absolutely nothing but fantastic things about that rifle. Highly accurate out of the box, extremely affordable. They typically sell them in combo kits, which means they sell the rifle and the scope with it.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can pick those up for $400 or $500.
Brand new.
Brand new. So I would say, and then, you've got your classic Weatherbees. That'll be great choices.
Okay.
Ruger's another good choice. Currently, I'm shooting Bergara, which is kind of newer to the scene.
Yes.
But I really like it. It shoots great for me.
Yeah.
That's my personal preference.
Yeah.
And the other part of this is, if you're going to go buy a rifle, go to the store and put a couple up to your shoulder. Understand how it feels in your hand. Because if you put one up and you're like, I really don't like that, don't shoot it. It's very similar with, handguns. If it doesn't feel good, that's probably not the one for you. If it feels really good, you should probably take a very serious look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of the things that what you're touching on is length of pull, right? So how long is that between the trigger and the end of that stock do you have? And if you're a shorter person, if you're a taller person, if you have longer arms, shorter arms, all of those things matter. And I know a lot of these rifles, they have the ability, you can adjust. So you can add extra padding, you can reduce the amount of padding. And so I think that's a big piece of it does it fit who you are as a hunter?
Absolutely, right? And given the modernization of the rifle, right? Yeah. Like, there's a lot of things coming out that are very expensive, but they're highly customized and you can change it exactly to you. But with the entry level, there's different butt stocks you can put on it to change that length of pull,
the pads.
Right? Pads on the end, which could make it more comfortable to shoot.
Yes.
Which are very economical, all things considered. You might pay $50 for a new buttstock, but it makes the whole experience of you shooting that rifle 100% different.
Yep. And one of the companies that makes something like that would be Magpul. Magpul makes a new stock and and grip for the Remington 700.
Absolutely.
So you can just swap that guy out, and that new stock it comes with 5 different spacers, so you can add it and adjust it for your arm length, for your length of pull that would be most comfortable for you.
Absolutely. And that's why I started off with the Remington 700 as my recommendation for a new shooter to get that rifle. Number one, it's tried and true. You cannot go wrong with the Remington 700. The second part of that is, if you decide, wow, I enjoy shooting this rifle, there are about a gazillion, and that's an approximate number, aftermarket parts you can get for it. You get new stock, new trigger, new whatever you want on that gun, and add it to make it custom to you for it's literally as much depending on what you want to spend. You can go anywhere from, hey, I just want a new trigger and I need a butt pad, and you're $200 into it. Or, hey, I want a brand new top of the line stock. I love the barrel. I love the action. And you can customize everything and anything in between on that rifle. Right? So it'll take you from the beginning stages, which is kind of where I'm at. We've had the conversation about what I'm potentially building out, and it's built on a Remington 700 platform.
Yes.
So we can continue to go as far as you want from that platform, but starting there is a phenomenal place.
Yes.
And that's where it also comes into caliber choice.
Yeah.
And so when you're picking out your firearm, understand what you're going after. Are we hunting smaller deer?
Okay.
Are we hunting elk? Are we going after moose?
Okay.
Are we going after waterfowl?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The other recommendation I would make is for waterfowl, right? Your first gun in is probably a Mossberg 500 or a Remington 870. I think you can get each of those around $300, $350.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Not bad.
Yep.
Not bad. I still run my 870 and I love it. The thing's been through the ringer and back, and it keeps on coming back for more.
And the military also uses both of those shotguns because of the ease of use and the economics of it.
Yes.
So it's not just, hey, hunters love it. The military loves it because it's easy for a beginner to pick it up, because a lot of soldiers, Marines, sailors, they've never picked up a gun or shotgun in their entire lives. And so how do I get those guys running something like that as quickly as possible and get proficiency as quickly as possible? So yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah. So that's where you just need to decide. And it's fairly simple. If you're getting into hunting and you're going to buy a firearm, you're likely going to have some conversations with some people. They're going to give you their recommendations, right? Based on your geography and the species you're going after, they're going to tell you, hey, this is going to be a great starting point for you. I'd recommend right here.
Yes.
So
okay. And so let's touch back on caliber again. So we were talking about 30-06 for a Remington 700. So we're talking about a 12 gauge for a Mossberg or a Remington 870, a Mossberg 500 or Remington 870 for a shotgun. Are there specific or common bird loads? Because for a rifle, I buy a rifle and it's chambered in this particular caliber, 30-06, 6.5 Creedmoor, whatever it is.
Yeah.
For a shotgun, it's very different. So you can pick different loads for the same caliber, which is 12 gauge, what we're talking about. So in terms of caliber for shotgun, what are the ones that somebody who's new to this, one of our listeners who's completely new to this, what are some common shotgun loads that they would encounter, and what would they be good for?
Yeah. So within a shotgun, you're typically going to see two main calibers, your 12 gauge and your 20 gauge. And I would say your 12 gauge is definitely geared more towards your duck and goose hunting and turkey hunting as well.
Yep.
Your 20 gauge is probably going to be for your upland game. Okay. So some of your pheasants, some of your quail, right?
Dove.
Potentially dove, right?
Yeah.
You can use 12 gauge for dove. And I would say, especially when I was into it, I had a Remington 870 and a 3-inch chambered 12 gauge.
Okay.
So I use that to go dove hunt also. But I would say those are probably the two main you're going to come into, depending on your age. Like if you're younger or potentially a female shooter, 20 gauge might be better for you. Right? You're still going to be able to be proficient, but it would be a much more comfortable experience for you to understand.
A lot less recoil.
Versus a 12 gauge for, I'm 6 foot, 215 pounds. A 12 gauge for me works just fine, right? I'm okay with it. But it's also, is it a 2 3/4 inch shell that I'm shooting? Is it a 3.5 inch buckshot I'm shooting down this thing? Because those have very different recoil impulses. And depending on how comfortable you are with firearms, and especially someone new coming to it, a 3.5 inch BB shell is going to kick a heck of a lot harder than a 2 3/4 target load.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a difference in those two things. So I would say 20 gauge for your smaller game, typically your younger people, women, probably a much more comfortable shot and a better experience getting into it. And then a 12 gauge for other people who may be more comfortable and able to say, I want to go goose hunt. I'm in Michigan and I'm going to be shooting deer shot out of a shotgun, right?
Or a sabot round out of a shotgun.
Yes.
Right? Or a slug.
Yeah. Yep. Same thing. So there's differences between the two, and I would encourage everyone to get to the range beforehand.
Yeah.
So if you understand, I want my hunter safety, I'm going to go buy this weapon, you need to practice.
And you can probably rent a 12 gauge and a 20 gauge at most of the ranges, indoor ranges that you go to.
Absolutely, you can do that. And a lot of the times when you go to a range to continue to gain that experience, you can talk to the staff there. And you may or may not have to pay for it, but there's a good chance if you're like, hey, I'm a first time shooter, I'm coming out here, I'm trying to experience this, they're going to go walk out with you. They're going to show you the ropes. They're going to give you a couple tips and tricks along the way. And that's just, again, back to the point of the community. We're here to help.
So I just want to touch on the loads again real quick, because we talked about a lot of different types of loads, right? Bird shot, and when you're talking about shotgun loads, right? We can go, 6, 7, and so we're talking about different types of shotgun loads. I also talked about sabot and slugs, right? So let's touch a little bit on the ammo real quick, just so that the listeners can understand what we're talking about, and when we're talking about bird shot, what does that look like? Why is it called bird shot? And then buckshot, why is it called buckshot? And the difference in terms of the shot inside and the that's needed to propel that particular load. So I'll leave it to you. Pick a couple loads that you want to just run through, common ones that people are gonna, probably buck, slug, and bird, and then maybe a specific number shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're touching on is a very similar pathway to rifle.
Yes.
So obviously within a rifle, you have smaller caliber. So the lower the number, the smaller the caliber. The bigger the number, the bigger the caliber.
Yes.
In bird shot, it's kind of opposite of the smaller the number, the bigger the load, the bigger the number, the smaller the load, right? So those two things are a bit opposite, which could be confusing. But we'll start with the shotgun since we were already on there. So we'll start to say, shotgun can run from a slug, which is just, you're basically shooting a bullet. It's the size of that shotgun bore, the size of the barrel.
Yes.
All the way down to, if you're using a target load, it's, they call it an 8-shot or a 7-shot. Which means it's just really tiny, small little pellets, right? You're going to shoot, I don't even know how many are in there, but there's probably 100.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Bunch.
Right? And that's a shotgun if it sprays out as you shoot it into, they call a pattern. And so there's everything in between. So your slug is going to be one big bullet shooting down. Then you'll go up to your buckshot, which you're going to have 8 1-ounce projectiles coming out of that barrel that are going to be pretty focused and slowly spread out as they go. And then you'll get into like goose hunting, which is probably you're going to be running BBs, which is like a BB gun, right? Think BB gun when you think BBs. But a bunch of them in that shotgun, which are going to still fly incredibly fast and put a little bit bigger pattern on things, but still carry enough inertia and momentum behind it to lethally hit that animal.
Yes.
All the way up to a target load, which is going to be tiny little pellets flying that are going to spread out. And if you're shooting some trap or shooting some clays, it's going to hit that with a bigger pattern. And that, we can maybe get into it, but choke size on your shotgun. But that also goes to rifle calibers.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And I want to touch on that because as you're choosing your first rifle and people are making recommendations for you, the caliber of your rifle and how you learn to shoot it is extremely important. When I went and got my hunter safety, we shot 22s, all good. My dad was there. We went to the actual gun range after that, and he hands me a 300 Win Mag. I'm 12 years old.
Probably not the first thing that anybody wants to start with.
Right. And I shot it, and of course it hurt. My face turned red, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And yeah, they got a good laugh out of it. I didn't. Maybe I'll do the same thing, but I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But it's also the recoil associated with those loads. You shoot something that is let's say, shotgun, a 3.5-inch buckshot. It's going to recoil harder than something that's a 2 3/4-inch target load.
When you're saying a 2 3/4 inch and a 3.5-inch, we're talking about the length of that shotgun shell.
That is
so
correct.
Just to be clear, shotgun shells are, when we're talking about caliber, 12 gauge versus 20 gauge, we're talking about the diameter of that shotgun shell. And when you're talking about shell length, we're talking about the length of the shell.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And translating that to rifle calibers, you go 243, or very popular today, the 6.5 Creedmoor round, right?
Yes.
And that's even really close to a 270, right?
Yes.
So that's talking the diameter of the bullet.
Yes.
Right? And that bullet is what you're shooting at,
Yes.
right? The target, the animal, right? And so as you go up, the diameter of the bullet gets bigger, and typically the recoil and the gunpowder associated to push that projectile down to hit the target gets bigger and bigger as the bullet gets bigger.
Yes.
So starting out, like, I'm going to go on a mule deer hunt this fall. I'm shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor, and I am very confident in that round to do its job.
Okay.
But it's also, as a new shooter, learning how to shoot and not getting a flinch or not creating bad habits because of that recoil is extremely important to start off with something that's somewhat more comfortable to shoot, or the understanding of, hey, it's going to recoil. I understand that and know that going in, so I can prepare for it mentally, still go through a good shot process.
Yep.
So if I'm going to hunt, I can make sure I take an ethical shot.
Yes. And what does an ethical shot mean? Because shot placement is something that if you're just shooting targets, it's very different than if I'm taking down an animal and I want that animal to go down as painlessly and as quickly as possible, right? I don't want unnecessary suffering. So please tell us a little bit about shot placement.
Yeah. And this goes back to the story I was going to tell. It was my first time elk hunting. I'm with my buddy, right? And we're sitting up on this big ridge. We're on the backside of a ridge. We're glassing. So just taking our binoculars, looking to see if we see any game or anything. And all of a sudden he pops over the other side of the ridge and he goes, "Hey, bud, the whole herd's behind us." And I go, "No, it's not." You're like, "Come on, let's keep looking." And he goes, "No, seriously, the whole herd's 100 yards behind us." And I pop over the ridge and there's 100 elk 100 yards from us, right? And I have a bull tag, which means antlers, right? And within the state, and this is where it's very important, you get your information through online, but also if you're going to hunt, there's your regulations brochure. Every state puts out a brochure full of every piece of information, every regulation you need to know. State of Colorado, I need to have a brow tine that's at least this long or at least 4 points on one side of the elk, right? So me being able to identify that animal, make sure it is legal for me to shoot, number one, right? If I see a target, I need to know what that is.
Yes.
Right? Yep. And I think that's the same for firearms in general.
In general, yeah.
Right?
What am I shooting at? And knowing that I'm going to hit that and nothing else.
Right. And that goes back to this is there's a whole herd. There's 100 elk standing in one circle.
Yeah.
Right. How am I supposed to take an ethical shot, not knowing that bullet's going to travel through something, hit something else. Right. And so I popped over and I'm looking and I can see a couple that could, potential shooters, but they're in the middle of the herd. Right. And then we see the big herd bull, which is, he's the big guy on campus. He runs it. He's the alpha.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he comes out from the timber about 500 yards away and it's kind of a trail leading back to him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he comes in and I can see him and I'm watching him this whole time. I go, I know he's legal.
Yeah.
That's the guy. That's the elk I want to take.
Yeah.
Because he's the biggest. I'm going to get a lot of meat out of it.
Yep.
And as he's coming in, he just goes right into the middle of the herd.
Oh no.
And they all travel right in front of us. And I could see him through my scope. I could see his head bobbing. And in my mind, I'm like, I can't take an ethical shot right now. Right?
Yeah.
I cannot say I am 100% going to hit him right here, not hit another animal and be able to put him down effectively.
Yeah.
And I had to watch him walk right on by and go. But I think that's also part of it from a hunter's perspective is having that go, no go phase. Do I understand my target? Do I know what's behind it? Can I safely and ethically take this shot?
Yeah.
Those are what go through your head. And at that point, I didn't take the shot.
Yeah. Well, and I think another piece of it is which direction are they facing when you're aiming at it, right? Because if their butt's facing you, there's probably not a great way that you can take this large animal down ethically and get a clean shot out of it. Or if they are broadside towards you, or if they're kind of angled towards you, because what you generally want is you want to hit the heart or you want to double lung it. You want to put a round through both of the lungs of the animal, because that means that they're going to go down quickly and they're going to go down painlessly. But if their butt's towards you, you're probably just going to hurt it real bad. It's going to run away, and then it's going to take a long time for it to die.
Yeah. And you're probably going to feel terrible in the process.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is the truth about it. So yeah, again, when you're looking at taking, a true shot at an animal, you need to take their angle into consideration.
Yep.
Do I need to wait for this animal to take 2 more steps from behind this bush where I can kind of see, because typically you're going to go from if you draw a straight line up from their front leg to their shoulder, right about mid body is where you want to hit.
Yep.
That'd be just a very general statement, but that's a spot where you're not going to hit bone. You're going to hit the vitals. That animal's going to go down quickly, right? And whether they're quartering to, quartering away, right? And depending on, a double lung shot means you punched it right through both lungs and the animal's going to go down quickly. Heart shot, same thing. And the vital zone, imagine a pie plate. If you can go for a new hunter in firearms, if you can go hit a pie plate at 100 yards and be consistently putting it on there, you can go make a good shot on an animal.
Yep.
So that might be something to work towards.
Yeah.
If you put and the best thing is you can go get 100 plates at Walmart for a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Put that on a target or those splatter targets. As long as you keep it within that circle, you're going to be able to harvest an animal and get some meat on the table.
Yeah. And the animal goes down quickly and ethically.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on next to what the other gear is, because it's more than just a rifle. It's boots, it's overcoats, it's camouflage, it's, what do you need at a minimum, right? Because we're all familiar with Elmer Fudd, the cartoon, right? Where he's just wearing a hunter's hat and he's wearing like a brown shirt and brown pants. But from like a practical standpoint, what are the minimal things that you would need? Do you need that big orange hunter safety vest? And, do you need an orange hat, right? We know that these animals are all colorblind, so kind of that stuff doesn't matter. But what are the things that if I was brand new and I was looking to go out tomorrow and I wanted to hunt, how do I do so that I don't get shot, right? Because we have all seen what happened to Dick Cheney and the guys that he was hunting with. So how do I prevent myself from being the guy that Dick Cheney shot?
Yeah. So I think a couple things. Number one, go back to your brochure, find your information online. If you're hunting with a firearm, a lot of times when you're talking deer or anything else, orange is a requirement. The reason for that is so other people see you. So they know that's not an animal, that's a person, don't shoot it.
Yes.
Right? And then just general camo. I mean, anyone can go through like an old family photo album and probably find a picture of someone's grandpa in a red flannel and blue jeans, deer hunting.
Yep.
Or waterfowl hunting, right? Something to that effect where you use the area around you to conceal yourself, right? I think from a camo perspective, I would say probably turkey are probably the number one because they have great eyesight. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
But you're also probably going to need to learn to call, and that's another aspect of what you may need.
Yeah.
But I think basically what you need what I would recommend is get yourself a good pair of boots.
Okay.
Right? Outside of your firearm, a good pair of boots is going to take you further than anything else.
Okay.
Because if your feet are uncomfortable or you're slipping on the terrain or whatever's going on, you're going to be highly uncomfortable unless you have the right footwear.
So if I'm a hiker, would a good pair of hiking boots suffice, or do I need to get something waterproof or whatever the case?
I think generally, and I'll speak from my own experience here, I wore a pair of hiking boots on my first elk hunt.
Okay.
They were great until I got them wet. When they got wet, that was a whole different ballgame. Okay. It was not very comfortable.
Yep.
If you can keep your feet dry, I 1000% recommend that. And I'll tell you a funny story. So we were sitting around a campfire later that night, and I set my boots next to the fire to dry out. And my buddy walked by and accidentally knocked one over, and I go, "Hey, bud, don't try and put my boots in the fire. Come on." So we're sitting there a little while later, and I moved my boots closer so they could continue to dry out because they weren't drying out quite right. And sure enough, one of them caught on fire. And I looked at him, I said, "This is your fault.
Okay.
This is not my fault."
Okay.
But a good pair of footwear, I think, is number one. And if you can, I would go waterproof. Get something with a Gore-Tex liner. Get something Honestly, muck boots are phenomenal.
Okay.
I wore those on my hunt up in Canada. Extremely comfortable, totally waterproof. They kept my feet warm.
Okay.
No problems on my end.
And you can get a good pair of hiking boots that are waterproof for like around $100 these
Yes.
days. Keens make some really good ones. I wear a pair of good Keen waterproof. They're over ankle, so they give me a little bit of support. But I mean, I think you can probably get the Merrell Moabs these days for around $100. I know that
Absolutely.
they were sold at like Costco for about, I think they were like $85 or $90. So, I mean, there's a lot of good options out there for waterproof hiking.
Absolutely. Just get a quality brand, right? Keen, Merrell, two fantastic brands I would recommend, right? And you can go up from there as you desire.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can go all the way up to, running Crispies or Zambulans or whatever you want, right?
Or more mid, like Solomon's.
There's everything and anything in between. And I would say get what's comfortable, and I would recommend waterproofing them.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to be crossing a stream that goes up to your knee, maybe get a pair of hip waders to bring along with you. Or honestly, if you're in country where you're going to be crossing streams, you need your boots, doesn't matter, a good pair of Crocs.
Yeah.
Change out of your hunting boots, throw on a pair of Crocs, cross the water, throw the Crocs back on your pack or in your backpack, and change right back into your boots.
Okay.
They're light, and honestly, they're pretty awesome.
Okay. All right. I mean, there are a lot of economical options for folks out there. So, I think that's one of the things that I think a lot of folks like me overthink it. I'm going to go and I'm trying to spend money, right, to get what I need. And it sounds like I don't need to go and spend $500 at Cabela's to be ready to go and do a basic hunt.
Yeah. I think the most expensive thing you'll get on your hunt is the firearm itself.
Okay.
Right? To get started.
Yep.
And then I would get a pair of boots and honestly, a backpack.
Okay.
Probably the next thing you're going to need. And honestly, I've got a pretty expensive pair of boots right now, and I'm considering downgrading because I realized I don't really need that for what I do.
Okay.
I can get away with a good pair of waterproof hiking boots for $120.
Yeah.
Right? And be able to do absolutely everything I want to do very comfortably.
Okay.
So just as someone who's gone on the pendulum and coming back, absolutely that's the right way to go.
Okay. So you touched on pack. So in terms of pack, what are we putting in there? What are some of the features that we're looking to have in a pack? How much most packs, they rate them in liters, right? 25 liter, 40 liter, 50 liter, 80 liter packs, right? What would you recommend if I'm going on a deer hunt, a standard deer hunt? Obviously, the deer are a lot smaller in Georgia than they are out here. They're a lot they're more medium sized in like Michigan, Wisconsin. And then if you start heading out to like Texas, they get a lot bigger. So I guess what is a decent sized pack? What liter would you recommend? And then what features? And then I guess what would you be spending on a pack?
I'm going to give you the classic business school answer.
Okay.
Of it depends.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll start to say, if you're going somewhere in the South or Michigan and you park your truck, you walk to go to where you're going to hunt, you probably don't need a 5,000 cubic inch or a 50 liter pack.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Think of what do you need for today?
Okay.
Right? So you're probably not going to be out there for more than 24 hours. God forbid something goes wrong. You're probably not more than a mile or two from your truck.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Versus a Western style hunt where you're going to backpack in 5, 7, 10 miles.
Yeah.
And I need to carry 7 days of supplies on my back, including food and water. Right? Then you're probably talking a 5,000 to 7,000 cubic inch pack.
Yep.
Or a 50 to 70 liter.
Plus you need a sleeping system and everything.
Yeah, you're carrying your tent, you're carrying your food, you're carrying your weapon, you're carrying your rain gear, your ammo, your other layers, probably a change of socks and a change of drawers.
Multiple changes of socks and drawers.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, if we're talking you're going to park your truck, you're going to go out for the day and come back, Honestly, find an old backpack.
Okay.
You may not have to spend any money on it.
Like a JanSport.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like legitimately, one of my first waterfowl backpacks was my 5th grade. It was a North Face from 5th grade, and I spray painted it all these colors. And I still have that backpack sitting in my basement today.
Okay. Okay.
But that's what I used because I could put, what I always make sure I have in my pack. And we'll start with a day pack and we'll move up to multi-day. But for a day pack, I'm going to make sure I have a basic first aid kit in there.
Yep.
For me, that's number one. Just like the reason we start hunting through a hunter safety course, when I'm out in the field, the first thing I want to talk about is safety.
Yes.
Right? Make sure we have it safe. And then I'm going to add in snacks and water. Hydration to me is really important. I'm a guy, I'll drink 4 or 5 liters a day when I'm out in the field. So hydration's big to me. I want to make sure I have water. Then beyond that, I have a couple snacks in the back. And then I'll have additional clothing layers. If I know I'm going to need it, if I'm going out at 3 a.m. to try and get my hunting spot to waterfowl, or I'm leaving my tent at 3 a.m. to go hit the trail to come up at first light to try and get on that elk or deer or whatever it is, I want to make sure that I also have clothing systems that allow me to be comfortable. So I'll be bundled up at first. I have room to shove my jacket in the backpack, or I have another rain layer to put on. Those things are important. And also that's another safety thing, right? Just to make sure I'm not going to get hypothermic or anything else associated
overheat, heat stroke.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a basic day pack to me. And then also I always make sure you have your licenses with you.
Okay.
Right. I've been checked multiple times in the field where they just come up and say, "Hey guys, how's it going today? We're just here to check your licenses." And you go, "Yeah, no problem. Got it right here." You hand it to them. And honestly, in those conversations where I say, "In my backpack's my license, I've got it right here for you. You know I'm hunting legally," right? And they might go, "Hey, I heard of a lot of people doing really well over here, or this is working really well right now this time of year."
Yeah.
Where they'll
little
help
tips.
Yeah, they'll help you out, and it's just having it on you.
Okay.
Is the big thing.
Yeah.
So from a day pack perspective, I think that's about all you need. And then as we start talking to, hey, if you're one of those people where you're like, "I'm going to go hunt, but you know what? I'm hiking 5 miles back and I'm going to camp out and I'm going to go do this thing." Number one, start working out.
Hiking with a pack is no joke, especially if you're going to go more than a mile or half a mile for most people.
Like, go start working out and get in shape. And I learned this the hard way also. You get 2 miles back and you're at 1,200 feet of elevation gain, and then it starts raining and you got 60 pounds on your back. You go, "Oh no, what have I done?"
It's not just what you need to survive and to get to the hunt, but you're packing out the meat.
Yes.
Right? So even if I'm not staying for like an entire day, say I'm just going for one day, what size pack would you say, and what type of pack? Because I mean, if I'm hiking out raw meat, like how much can I expect to carry out from like a standard deer?
Yeah. So there's I gave the example day pack, you have a backpack.
Yes.
When you start talking multi-day hunts, you start talking about a frame with a backpack on it.
Yes.
So your frame allows you to put different backpacks on that frame. So if you're going to carry out a quarter, or you're putting half a deer on your back,
and how much is that going to weigh?
I'll use an example of like an elk. Like a quarter is going to weigh 70 pounds.
Okay.
And so you need to do that hike 4 times with your pack plus 70 pounds on it.
Yeah.
Right.
To get all of the meat out.
That is correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Because the last thing you want to do is spoil the meat. But as far as like multi-day packs, right, you're going to get into a frame with a pack on it.
Okay.
If you're going to go 5 days plus, I'd say probably something 5,000 cubic inches or larger.
Okay. So 50 liters.
Yeah. Rough 50 liters or larger.
Yep.
And then if you're like 2-3 days, probably 3,600, 3,000 cubic inches, 30 to 36 liters is probably a good 2 to 3 day pack.
Okay.
Right. And if you're one of these expert ultralight backcountry archery hunters, like you might be able to do a week, 10 days in a 36 liter pack.
But you still have to get the meat out.
That's where you have the frame, right?
Yeah.
And you're still, right, that's a different breed of people. But yeah, you're going to have those two things. And what I look for is something that also has a hip belt.
Yes.
So something
Critical.
absolutely.
Critical.
Yeah. Because anyone who's carried weight on their shoulders for a long period of time, you realize how much that sucks.
Miserable when it's all sitting on your shoulders.
So get something that has good lumbar support,
Yep.
has a good hip belt if you're planning on carrying out some meat. So that way the weight isn't carried on your shoulders and you really carry that with your core and your whole body. It'll make the experience of packing out that animal much more enjoyable than if you had a JanSport on your back, right? Trying to get up a cord.
I want to go into blinds and some of the scent block stuff that you hear about. But before that, I want to just touch quickly because we've been talking about packing out the meat, right? And so dressing. So dressing the meat. So can you, one, give us the definition of dressing? And two, what are some of the things that people would need to dress some prey? And then where can you learn that? Because it's not necessarily something it's not intuitive, right? And people don't realize that there are intestines and there's poop and there's all of this other stuff that you don't want to puncture. And so can you walk us through, like, first, what do I need, right? Obviously, like a knife with a hook and, but you tell me for somebody who's beginning and looking to dress their prey, what do they need? And then how do they go about learning? And then what may be some of the tips that you have for somebody who's trying to dress a quarter, another quarter, and then the rest of it to take out with them?
Yeah. So when we say dressing, right, you're essentially the animal's down and you say, I've got to get all the meat from this animal. Plus, if it's a deer or an elk, you got to take the head with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a buck. And a lot of the times from a hunting perspective, you also have to show evidence of sex.
Okay.
So as you pack this animal out, have you been able to fulfill that definition of evidence of sex?
Yeah, because you don't want to kill females generally. You just want to kill males.
Right. And it's also, if I have a doe tag versus a buck tag, how do I prove that I didn't shoot a buck, just leave its head laying out there and just brought all this meat back?
Yes.
So when you get to the animal and you're going to dress the animal, right? So that's essentially saying, I'm going to take the meat off this animal, bring it back to my truck. So essentially, there's two different ways to do this. You can gut the animal, which means essentially you split it from sternum, throat, all the way down.
So I'm going to need rope to pull this animal up on a tree so that I can do this. Or can you do this from the ground?
You can do it from the ground. It's a lot easier when you have someone helping you.
Okay.
Or paracord. Go grab a bundle of it, throw it in your pack. You're going to use it for about 10 different other things you didn't think you needed it for.
Yeah. Paracord's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, I've got paracord in mine that I use all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're either going to dress the animal, which essentially means you're going to remove all the way from the esophagus, all the internals from the esophagus to the lungs, to the guts, heart, liver, intestines, all the way down through the anus and everything, and pull that out. And what that does is it essentially removes all the stuff out of the animal and allows that meat to cool down.
Yes.
So when we want to harvest this animal for meat, the colder and faster we get that meat, the better quality it's going to be in the long run.
Yep.
So when we pull all of that out, that's pulling a lot of heat and also potential bacteria out of that animal. So you can gut it and pull all of that out, and then essentially you start skinning.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Which means you'll have the paracord, you'll pull a leg over here. After you split it down the middle, essentially.
Okay.
You
After I remove the guts, I split it down the middle.
Yep. And you pull it out and you just start skinning. And you can hang it from a tree. There's multiple different ways to do this depending on where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, honestly, I learned a lot of stuff from YouTube on this, right? Just watching some YouTube videos on it.
Yeah.
Of just like, okay, like for me as an elk hunter, if I go harvest an elk, what the heck do I do next? That's a 900-pound animal laying on the ground. How do I get it out of here?
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot of bones, a lot of fur, a lot of, yeah.
So there's also a gutless method where you can skin it right down its spine and pull all the quarters, all the meat off of it, but leave the guts inside of it and be good to go. But that also means, I probably missed this on my pack out, but game bags. They're super cheap. I think like cotton game bags that you can pick up for $20, right? which essentially means when I say I'm taking a hind quarter off a deer, which I learned through a YouTube video,
Okay.
because until you go someone with on a hunt and they show you, you're probably not going to know how to do.
Yeah.
It's how to butcher. And so you put it in here, which means it keeps it cooler. It keeps any bacteria, any grass, any flies, anything off your meat to keep it as clean as possible. So it's wholesome when you get it. And you can pick those up for $15-20 all day long. So basically you're going to essentially butcher that animal, and then that's where your pack comes in handy.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you take that quarter, pop it on your back, and you hike out to the truck.
And then when you get it out, so real quick before we get to out to the truck, gutting knives. So there are a lot of knives that have gutting hooks and whatever. Do you recommend getting a knife with a gutting hook, or can you just do it with like a regular, like I carry pocket knives constantly. Can I do it with a pocket knife, or do I need a fixed blade, or what would you recommend?
So I don't think you need a crazy fancy knife to get it done. Today's era, there's plenty of options available. Does a gut hook make it easier to make that initial cut? Absolutely. Can I do it with a buck knife? Absolutely, you can do it with a buck knife. You may have to take a little bit more time, a little bit more precaution, because the last thing you want to do is
get deer poop all over you.
Yeah, get deer poop all over you, or puncture a stomach, or whatever, right? So from a knife perspective, just get yourself a good quality. So they make a great replaceable blade knives now with your like Havalon knives that have literal scalpel blades that you can click on, click off.
Okay.
Those are fantastic options.
How much are those?
I think I picked up one for like $25-30.
Okay. So not expensive.
No, and it came with like 4 blades with it.
Okay.
So it's a little thing, clicks out, you pop on like literally a scalpel. So be very careful.
Yeah.
Because they're sharp.
Don't cut yourself.
Yeah. But it's a scalpel, and you just slice it right down.
Okay.
Or you can go to a fixed blade, which are great options for a little bit more control, a little bit more security.
Yeah.
And just get yourself, I know Work Sharp has great sharpeners.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I carry one in my pack, right? Yeah. It's their field sharpener, and it works fantastic.
A ceramic rod from Amazon, like $15-20.
Yes.
Is fantastic for those types.
Absolutely. Like it will absolutely do what you need it to do. And if it gets a little dull, you go whap, 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 whap.
Yep.
Good to go, and you can finish processing that animal.
Okay. And then once you get it to your truck, do you bring a bunch of coolers? Do you bring a bunch of ice? What is because I think the thing about it is most people don't think, like, we buy most of our meat from the grocery store, meaning it's cold already, and I don't know how long it can be warm before I have to get it back into the fridge, how long before it spoils. And this is a fresh animal versus like something that is in the grocery store. We're talking about a few weeks in terms of supply chain. Yeah. So I mean, that bird or that cow has been dead for a few weeks. And so that's a very different scenario than something that I just killed. So what do you do to keep the meat fresh after you've packed it out?
Yeah. So I've actually listened to a couple other really good podcasts about this, right? Another source of information is other podcasts.
Yeah.
So as you're packing it out, number one, get to your animal, cool it down quickly. If you're in the South and it's 90 degrees out, you should probably gut that animal and get it quartered out. If you're out west and it's 20 degrees outside at night, it's okay to let it hang out.
Okay.
You know, the threshold for microbial growth is around 40 degrees, right? So as long as you're keeping that meat cool, it's going to stay safe. But once you get it into the game bags. It's not dirty. You don't have grass and dirt and everything else on it that you don't
Contamination.
want. When you get it to your truck, I heard this from someone else, and I think it's actually brilliant. You don't need a $700 Yeti sitting in the back of your truck.
Okay.
You absolutely do not need that.
Yeah.
If you're concerned that you've got a 5-hour drive home and you don't know how you're going to keep it cold, there's 2 ways to do this, I see. You either have a big cooler that's not a super expensive cooler. I have an Igloo 110 that's what I use. And you know what I do? I fill it full of ice, and I know that Igloo is going to hold for 3-4 days. Or the other option Go buy, most trucks now have a plug-in in the back or inside or an inverter of some sort. If you have that, go buy a $150 chest freezer and plug it into your truck. Like if you really want to go there, then all of a sudden, hey, I know I can get this home super safe.
Okay.
I know I have a place to store it once I get home.
Yep.
We're good to go.
Or stop by a gas station and just buy a few bags of ice and just toss it on top, right?
Yeah.
Assuming that you're not like 2 hours from the nearest gas station, but.
Yeah, I've actually done it to where we shot a deer and we were on a ranch and it was a cold day. So you know what we did? We drove up next to one of the water tanks where the water was probably 40 degrees.
Okay.
And you know what we did? We took our Nalgene's, filled them with water and poured it over the meat to cool it down.
Okay.
Because we knew we had about an hour and a half drive back to town.
Okay.
So we just literally found some cold water, poured it on top of the meat to cool it down, and we left it in the back of the truck and drove home, knowing it was going to stay cold enough for long enough to keep it safe.
Okay.
So there's options all the way in between of like, hey, I shot this deer. I drug it 40 yards to my truck, gutted it right there, kept it good.
Yep.
Hey, I swung by my local gas station, threw a bag of ice on it, got it to the processor or got it home and started cutting it up.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be just fine.
Okay. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk real quick about was just deer blinds. Do I need a deer blind? Do I need scent block? Because I mean, there's a ton of marketing out there. Like, get this deer blind. You know, nobody's gonna see the deer's never gonna see you. Get this scent block because deer can smell you from 50, 100 yards away because whatever. So, are those things that are worthwhile for a new hunter? Are those things that are just they're gimmicks?
I'm gonna say, if you're going out for your first time hunting, the wind is your friend.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So animals have a sense of smell that is far greater than ours. It is one of their primary defenses to predation. So as I'm going out, wind is a huge consideration. Like bring up your app again to what's in your pack. What's the weather going to do? Do I need rain gear? Do I need other layers? Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Look at what the wind's going to do that day. If it's supposed to be blowing all of a sudden 40 miles an hour in the afternoon.
From northeast.
Yes.
Right.
Where should I try and set up to hunt, or where should I try and approach to get a good opportunity? So I think from a deer blind perspective, there's a couple options, right? You have your climbers, you've got your tree stands, right?
Yes.
Which is where you're going to go and you're probably going to be stationary. You're not going to be able to move around in those.
Yep.
And those are great options when you're sitting on an alfalfa field, a soybean field, or just, an open area or a water hole or a wallow, right? Those are great options for you. And also same thing on the turkey front and also waterfowl hunt. They have great eyesight.
Yeah.
So you need to be concealed. So I would say blinds in that perspective, absolutely. They're a great option for you to get out there. Do you need one? No. Could you just go out and say, I think I'm well hidden right here and play the wind?
Okay.
Absolutely, you can do that.
Okay.
Right? If the wind's at your back blowing out into the field, probably that's not a good thing because your scent is going all over there. But if you're sitting there looking at it and the wind is in your face, that's good because then they're not going to smell you as they're trying to get to their destination.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. All right. So I don't need to go and buy the scent block. I don't have to go buy the deer suit. I don't have to necessarily go buy, a $300 blind that collapses and all of that fun stuff.
No.
Right?
No.
Okay.
If you want to get some scent block because you're going to be walking all around an area that you plan to hunt 3, 4, 5 days in a row, spray a little on your boots. It's $8.
Okay.
You can do that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Right.
Got it. So from there, I'm just going to skip ahead to timing and preparation because we talked a little bit about that already. So finding a spot and when to get out into a spot, right? Yeah. Where's your position for hunting? So how do you figure out where you're going to sit, where you're going to, set down to shoot?
Yeah. I think there's good resources like onX is a great resource. If you're scouting an area, so you understand you want to go hunt, You find out where you can hunt through your brochure, talking to your local departments, right? This is where I can hunt. This is what times I can hunt. Then it's understanding, what is this terrain like?
Okay.
What's a good area for the species I'm after, right? OnX, and there's a couple others.
And that's on X. It's an app that you can download for your phone.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And the beautiful thing about that is you can download it offline maps. So you can be somewhere that has no service and be able to pull it up and say, here's where I am. This is what the terrain around me looks like, right?
Yep.
And I think there's a few others, but that's the one that I prefer.
I think everybody that I've ever talked to is like, on X is the app.
Yeah.
Because it tells you whether you're on public land, whether you're in private land, whether you're getting close to private land, and keeping yourself out of trouble. You don't want to piss off any landowners who are like, this is my property, can't shoot there.
Absolutely. And my other thing with that is topography, right?
Yes.
Elevation, right?
Okay.
Depending on the temperature, time of day, where are those animals going to be at? Are they trying to get cooler and higher elevation?
Okay.
Or is it super cold out and they're going lower elevation to try and get warmer at the nights and everything, right?
Okay.
So the topography also plays a big factor in how you're
Okay.
going after these animals.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a great resource to just, where are you close to? Where am I going? How do I hunt it? Right.
Okay. And then where would I get the information in terms of, I'm going out hunting deer. I need to be out there at 4 a.m., get in my spot, if I have a blind, I'm setting up my blind, and I'm just waiting. Or if I'm going out dove hunting, I'm going out between like 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. because that's when I'm going to get the most opportunity. They're the most active because as it gets hotter, they're just hanging out and trying to stay cool. So what are some resources for people for understanding what time and where to go for their specific type of prey?
Yeah. So I'm always a big proponent of getting out early. So before your season starts, right? So they might say you're allowed to hunt September 1st. Go put boots in the ground in August.
Okay, so walk in August.
Yes. So like I just did this. I've got a hunt coming up in late October into November. I went on a scouting hike last month just to familiarize myself with the territory, right? So I can kind of go, okay, this is what I'm getting into, right? But typically for hunting, it's early morning, late evening. They call it the golden hour, right? Your first and last 45 minutes of daylight and sunset are where most animals are going to come out because that's the in-between time of daytime prey, nighttime prey.
Yep. And it's also when the light is most preferable for the prey animal.
Yeah.
So they're most likely to escape, say, a wolf or whatever, because the predator animals are not going to see them as well.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay. From there, how would I get a permit and how do I understand where to hunt?
So, number one, when you go through your hunter safety course, they're likely going to give you a brochure for your local state, right? Which outlines, hey, when can I hunt? Where can I hunt? What species can I hunt?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I get a permit to do that? So when it comes to a permit, a lot of states are draw states. So essentially you have to say, yes, I would like to go hunt this animal, which requires you to go to usually an online platform, submit a request that says, I'd like to hunt deer. And they say, yep, you're good to hunt, right? Or there's other states where you go get a permit and boom, you can go get, 2 bucks and 3 deer, right? It completely varies state to state. And that's also where I'd encourage you to do your research of if you're going to hunt in a certain place and you want to hunt there, know the local laws and regulations before you show up.
Yes.
And feel free to pick up the phone, call people, they will help you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the application process, they're very straightforward. You can find it online, not extremely complicated to go figure that part of it out.
Okay. All right. Then the last section really would be dealing with park rangers and CPW, whatever, the authority in terms of the folks who are going to be regulating the hunt. In terms of that, we talked about some of the safety rules, knowing what your target is, where you can shoot, whether it's a good shot, whether you're going to hit other targets that you don't intend to hit. When you are confronted, you had talked a little bit about making sure that you have your permit. Any other considerations in terms of dealing with rangers or CPW or wildlife?
My personal experiences with any sort of ranger or law enforcement while I'm out hunting have been pretty positive. As long as I know, hey, I'm supposed to be here, I know what I'm hunting, and I've got a license to do it, they're typically like, oh, hey, yeah, you guys having a good time? How's it going? How can I help? Right? Dealing with them, I would just say, imagine like you're just talking to another person. They're usually really straightforward, nice. They enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah.
And they want more people in the outdoors as well.
Because you're paying for permits.
Yes.
And so that revenue helps pay their salaries.
And so when you engage positively with them, they're definitely engaging positively with you.
Yep.
Right. So I would say, like, don't be afraid of if a ranger comes up to you. Like I've been there where it's the first time you're like, oh, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I did nothing. They're doing their job saying, hey, is everyone good? Everyone's safe? Everyone's supposed to be here? Okay, great. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Right? It's typically how those interactions go.
Okay. And then generally it is no round chambered, no ammunition in the gun until you really set down where you're actually going to hunt. So I think that's probably the biggest thing in my mind, is making sure that you don't have a mag in your rifle or a round chambered, because they're going to want to potentially check that.
Absolutely. Especially, it's probably more prevalent with the shotgun than it is the rifle, right?
Okay.
So when I'm transporting a firearm, like, it's never loaded.
Yep. It's slung, but it's not loaded.
Yeah, it's never loaded. And then, like, from a shotgun perspective, you may have, how many rounds can I carry in the magazine, right?
Yep.
I can carry 3 + 1.
Okay.
1 in the chamber, I got 3 in the magazine, I'm ready to go. But if I can all of a sudden fit 5 or 6 in there, we're going to have an issue. And with a rifle, I'm not chambering that rifle until I'm essentially ready to shoot.
Okay.
Because if I'm hiking into a place and I've got a rifle on my back, the last thing I want to do is fall down, have that go off, and who knows what's going to happen after that.
Yep. Safety first.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then sidearms. Do people generally carry sidearms, like a pistol, with them when they're going hunting? So I know that in Michigan, there's a lot of coyotes, and they may approach you, and you may not be able to get a long arm in terms to dispatch that coyote. And so is that something that you've generally seen, where people carry a sidearm, or is that an issue, or is it just something that people don't do?
I think it's dependent on the individual. Depending on your state, if you can carry and people want to carry, no problem with that at all.
Okay.
I've definitely seen it more prevalent when you're backcountry hunting.
Okay.
Due to mountain lions, bears.
Okay.
Right.
And when you say backcountry, define that for
So
the
if
listeners.
I'm going to go hike 5 to 7 miles off a trail into the mountain, right?
Yep.
Where there's no roads, no nothing.
Okay.
Right. There's a potential point where I am then in the wildlife territory, and there's a potential where I'm going to have to defend myself from something. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I have 100% encountered moose on my walkout where they're 10 yards in front of me, and a moose starts walking towards me, and I go, what am I going to do right now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What are you going to do? What do you do in that case?
Yeah. You run. But that's where, having a firearm, a sidearm on you is, hey, that's my last line of defense.
Yes.
Do I want to take this animal's life? Absolutely not. If I absolutely have to, I'm going to do what I have to do. Right?
Okay.
So that's where I would say sidearms. And then, like, if you're hunting other areas where there's hogs or coyotes or something, and it's legal for you to do so, I would say, exercise that right and make sure you're proficient with that weapon, understand how to use it, and know the rules and regulations. And if it's good for you to go, go do it.
All right. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was just policing up brass. Like, what's courtesy and what's required, right? I mean, I'm always going to police up my brass simply because that is courtesy. I'm being a good member of the community, and I'm going to police up my brass, whether I'm shooting at a private range or if I'm shooting at, I'm out at somebody's property or whatever the case of. Try not to leave a bunch of brass or a bunch of like plastic shotgun shells around. What is generally the approach for policing up brass?
Well, hopefully you're not having to police up a whole bunch of brass.
Yes, ideally.
Is number one.
Yeah.
Right. But absolutely, whenever you're out, pack it in, pack it out.
Okay.
Right, is the rule of thumb.
Yep.
Right. If you're going to pack it in there, make sure you pack it out of there. Because we want to make sure hunting areas are usually wildlife areas.
Yes.
Or you're out in wilderness.
Yes.
We want to keep those places as pristine as we can.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
So pack it in, pack it out. I'm a huge proponent of, if I bring it in, I'm bringing it out.
Okay.
So I would say, if you shoot and there's a couple pieces of brass sitting there, pick them up, put them in your pocket, take them back.
No candy wrappers, no chip bags.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many deer's lives have been saved by Little Debbie wrappers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you for all of that. Any closing thoughts or remarks that you might have in terms of things that we may not have covered during this conversation?
All right. Closing thoughts and remarks. From my perspective, I think we covered a lot of it. I think the biggest thing is understand the rules and regulations, get your hunter safety, be safe with your firearm, and go out there and have fun. You're going to engage members of the community. You're going to be felt welcomed. You're going to have fun. Just go out and do it.
Okay.
And do it in a safe manner.
Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I certainly learned a lot during our conversation, and I hope it was informative for our audience. And so if anybody is looking to get this information, like Andrew had said, Google for whatever your state is, and hunting permits, permitting, hunter safety courses, and then just make sure you understand what the rules are. Do it safely, do it within whatever the regulations and rules are for your particular state. Make sure you're doing it where you're allowed to. Don't encroach in somebody else's private property. And then I think this is a phenomenal hobby. This you can feed your family. You can get better as a shooter. You can enjoy nature. I think that some of the best views that you're probably going to see are when you're out hunting, especially when you're talking about at dusk and you're talking at dawn. There's so much to be gained from engaging, not just from, hey, feed my family, but also just from connecting with nature and enjoying the public lands that your state has to offer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so really, really thank you for your time, Andrew. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you found this informative, I encourage you to go ahead and rate us, hopefully 5 stars, and leave a comment. If you have anything else, please shoot us an email. We're going to be leaving that information in the show notes. Shoot us an email if there's any other topics that you want us to cover. Happy to cover them. Any information that you felt that we missed, we're happy to cover again. But thanks for your time, and have a great night.